Hi everyone, my name is Matt Patton and I'm the literary director at Texas Book Festival. Welcome. I think we're live right now, but hi Katie. But if you can't hear me, let me know. So again, my name is Matt Patton. I'm the literary director at Texas Book Festival, and today, in the spirit of being alone together during these very strange times, we're beginning a series of brief 10 to 20 minute author chats on IG Live, and perhaps eventually through other channels as well. This is my first time on IG Live, by the way, so please go easy on me, and thanks in advance to everyone for your patience as we figure things out. Things will most likely be a bit awkward at times. So it looks like, okay, so first of all, today I'm speaking with Austin's own Deb Olin Unferth, my fellow test subject in this live experiment of ours, who will be joining us any moment now. It looks like Deb is joining the chat, so I'm going to be inviting her fairly soon here. I've had the pleasure of chatting with Deb during previous year's festivals, most recently for her graphic novel I Parrot a couple of years ago. And today I'm looking forward to talking with her about her most recently published novel, Barn 8, out from Grey Wolf Press this month. So, okay, I'm trying to add Deb now, so here we go. Okay, I think it's working. Deb, I think I've invited you, and I think you just have to accept now. Deb.
You did it.
I did it. This actually wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Really? For me, I'm still a little shaky on the whole thing, but okay, we're here.
Oh, we're here. It's working. That's a good first sign. I'm glad we both have similar backdrops, by the way. It's very on brand for both of us, I think. Very bookish. So I want to introduce Deb first. So I'm going to be reading from something here, but Deb is the author of 6 books, including the novel Barn 8, her newest. Her fiction and essays have appeared in Harper's, the Paris Review, Granta, Vice, and the New York Times, and McSweeney's. She has received a Guggenheim Fellowship, 3 Pushcart Prizes, and was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award. She is an associate professor for creative writing at the University of Texas in Austin, where she teaches for the Michener Center and the New Writers Project. And she runs a creative writing workshop called Penn City Writers at a prison in South Texas. And Penn City Writers is such an amazing program. There's a lot of video content about Penn City Writers on YouTube, right? I feel like I've seen some of them recently.
Yeah, we have done a couple little video things here and there, and also some of their work is available online at Vice and other places, and we put out a couple journals by the students too. So
yeah, cool. Okay, so I'm just going to give the big picture of Barn 8. I think we might, if we have time toward the end, we'll get into an excerpt reading. But first of all, thank you so much for joining us here. I know it is a bit awkward, but we're figuring it out together.
Thank you so much for having me. This is just really fun and nice. And I just want to say that I'm so inspired by the literary community and how everybody's kind of coming together and just figuring this all out and just acting a little crazy. And
yeah, me too. And also by the end, I would love to chat a bit about other virtual talks you're going to be giving in the coming months as well. If you have any plans so far, I would love to direct readers to those talks as well. But so generally speaking, 2 auditors, Barn 8, so 2 auditors for the U.S. egg industry go rogue, which is a line I love, and conceive a plot to steal 1 million chickens in the middle of the night, an entire eggs farm worth of animals. So I was hoping that you could tell me and the readers a little bit about the book, and also why chickens. Do you have a special connection with chickens?
I really didn't. When I started writing the book, I had no particular care for chickens. That has changed a lot. But I guess like nobody likes factory farms to begin with. Just nobody's comfortable with it. I'm sure even the farmers aren't happy with the circumstances. They're even health hazard, as we are now seeing from the coronavirus, which started in an animal market. Oh, whoa. That was my phone.
I think it'll happen to me too, I think.
And so Oh yeah, and so, but then one day I just got this image of all of the chickens on in one of these factory farms leaving the farm, and the image just really stayed with me, and I started researching and thinking about it, and I started thinking a lot about all the different similarities between the history of the chicken and our own history, and I started seeing all these parallels, which sounds a little weird at first, but
Mhm.
but then I don't know. Then I just started rolling with the book, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about the research process. I mean, I read in the New York Times book review, quote, the thorough research that Unferth must have done on the historical, cultural, and agricultural aspects of hens and roosters is woven naturally throughout the text. I was wondering also, number one, novels that you may have read during your research, but also nonfiction that you may have read during your research as well. The first thing that comes to mind is Jonathan Safran Foer's Eating Animals, but was there any other titles that you read as well?
Yeah, I think my favorite book that I read about chickens is called Chicken by Annie Potts. Um,
Appropriately enough, yeah.
which is just like it's not it's like a history of the chicken, but it's also a cultural history. It's got all this artwork in it that's really cool, and in fact I wound up buying some chicken artwork, and it also talks a lot about chicken personalities and um just and I did a lot of other research too. Like I went to factory farms, I went to small farms, I interviewed a lot of undercover investigators and animal lawyers and farmers, and I went to an egg conference.
An egg
So
conference.
yeah,
Tell me about that.
I posed as like food service from Wesleyan University, where I was faculty at the time. And yeah, it was this crazy conference where people could go and learn about eggs. And it was farmers and it was food service people and like people who deliver eggs to grocery stores and stuff. And it was several days long, and I was the one who was always in the front row with my hand raised and a million questions, and everyone else was kind of nodding out in the back, like their companies had sent them. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, it was really fun.
So were you undercover? Is that what you said?
I mean, I went as food service,
Okay,
so yeah,
okay.
that's undercover. But what I said was that I was from Wesleyan University,
Oh, I see. Right, right.
which is where I was teaching. So it was only a little bit undercover.
Yeah. So I heard from reliable sources that you got a chicken tattoo. Why, while you were writing this book, is that true?
I did. I mean, so the first tattoo I ever got, and I only have two tattoos, but the first tattoo I ever got was of a bird, and it's on my shoulder. And I was 19, and I was like, I'm a free bird, nobody can keep me in a cage, and it's like flying off my shoulder. So then many years pass. I'm an adult now, and I'm like researching chickens and just thinking so much about them and spending so much time with them and watching them and becoming vegan and all this. And then I finally decided to get a second tattoo because I'm no longer in flight. I am now, I'm married. I've got a house. I'm like a little hen in my little home. And
Yeah.
so that was one reason. And then it's also just sort of like in solidarity with the chickens, like I'm with you, hens. We're all in this together.
Hmm. I love that. So another question I had is about just the themes and the messages of the book. I know that the book has a strong environmental message. Was that always a part of it from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that in the beginning it started more just being about animals and specifically chickens and how they're treated. But then as time passed, it became more and more about the whole world. I've been waiting for so long for this like avalanche of fiction that's going to come upon us, that's going to be mourning what we've done to the planet and just the grief just the collective grief that we're all going to be feeling. And just in the last year or two, I'm starting to see it come. And I really wanted my book to be a part of that. And so in certain spots, I just go way, 20,000 years into the future, or even just 300 years in the future, or I go way back into the past, when the earth was born. Just trying to make it very global and thinking a lot about where we've come from and where we're headed. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some reader question on Goodreads too, by the way, about Slaughterhouse-Five and some thematic connections there. Did you think of that when you were writing the book, or is that just an afterthought?
I read Slaughterhouse-Five while I was writing the book, like the very early months that I was writing the book, and I'm sure that it affected me somewhat because, Slaughterhouse-Five is, and also Catch-22 was another one that I mentioned. I mean, these things with numbers, these titles with numbers. I don't know why. Another one. Was
I hadn't even made that connection until now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Catch-22, and also
Barn 8,
Fox 8 by George Saunders, which is a short story that he kind of turned into a little mini book. All of them have this in common, which is that there is this society, modern society is requiring us to live in these very segmented ways and do things, violent things that we would never normally want to do. And so, my book is definitely, and the other thing that those books all have in common is that they're satire too. They're very funny. And I really wanted my book to be that way too. So I guess I wasn't really consciously thinking about it, but then as I wrote, it just integrated into the book. Yeah.
Yeah, no, speaking of satire and funny, I mean, I know that Barn 8 there's a lot of humor, but it's also, there's some disturbing images in it as well, some disturbing themes. How did you work on balancing those two? It seems like a delicate balance, the seriousness of the environmental message and the factory farming and the farming message in general, but also levity to it as well. How did that balance work?
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I didn't want to scare people off with a bunch of ugly images of the egg industry. So I wrote a piece for Harper's that kind of got all of it out of my system. Like I just researched the hell out of it. I wrote this piece it's like an investigative piece. And then I had originally thought, I'll use a bunch of that research. And I kind of did, but I just dropped in very tiny bits here and there just to give you the slightest image of what was happening. And then I let just the personalities play around it and the humor of the situation that was happening play around it so that it wasn't just this dark slog, that might make you not want to read it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm actually reading Camus' The Plague right now. So speaking of darkness and also some levity, yeah, it's an interesting balance. So I can't believe that we're already up 15 minutes. I mean, that was the plan. But I would love, if you don't find it too awkward, to read an excerpt from Barn 8, if it feels right.
Sure. I thought I could just read a thing that takes me about 90 seconds or so to read. Let me
Sure.
see here. So, all right. So I was just mentioning about how I move into the future, like thousands of years here and there. So in this part, I move a few hundred years from now, or maybe a couple hundred years. We don't really know. I'm trying to use electric fans to tell about the end of civilization. So, okay. Fans will be one of the last things to go. In the coming decades, Earth will continue to heat, irregularly at first, in patches. There'll be energy shortages, then crises. Families will spend more on energy than on rent. In the late days, Air conditioners will become illegal anyway and too expensive to run. Only the richest 10% will be able to sit and have quiet conversations in cool air. Not that they will do much talking, their faces inches from their screens as they fight with people all over the world. Box fans, tornado fans, tower fans, ceiling fans, all species of fans will evolve and fill homes. A firm of architects will design an apartment complex with industrial fans making up the northern walls. Doors will roll over them like a garage. Around them, the landscape will swirl with storms and waves. The Americas will turn into mostly desert, and the islands will sink into the Dead Sea. In the final decades, that sound, a low, pulsing, powerful hum, will take over, rise off the earth, muffle what's left. Then one day, all the fans will fall silent.
I love that. This is where I'd ask an audience to clap. No, thanks so much, Deb. So as we're running out of time here, I would love to let readers and watchers know how to purchase Barn 8. I know that, for example, if you're here in Austin, you can purchase it from Book People. If you go to Book People's homepage, there's a link to bookshop.org. That's BOOKSHOP.org, and you can purchase the books online there. And Deb, did you have anything else to add to the conversation?
No, just, support your independent bookstore. I'm so worried about the broken world that we're going to come back to when this is all over. I mean, so I just want us to all do whatever we can to support the tiny businesses that are suffering and that are going to continue to suffer.
Absolutely. I encourage everyone to check out what their local bookstores are doing. I know that some still have curbside service and some have pivoted to just online, but either way, you can definitely help out your community and help out and just be a good reader, a good reading citizen by checking out what your local independent bookstores are doing. And also not just bookstores. I mean, we're doing a lot of ordering from local restaurants and other small businesses lately. And I think it's so important, especially as the headlines just seem to get grimmer and grimmer, that we can be alone together as best as we can during this time. But it looks like we're out of time, Deb. I wish we could have talked. We can keep talking, by the way. There's nothing stopping us. But thank you so much for joining this experiment with IG Live discussions right now. And it went pretty good, I thought.
I thought it was great. Thank you so much. That was just really, really fun.
All right, Deb. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.